Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and welcome back to Joe on Joe, the only podcast where I've covered every episode of G.I. Joe, the Sunbow cartoon, the DIC cartoon, and we've even covered Extreme, and every issue of the Marvel Real American Hero comic, page by page, panel by panel. This week, we are back with part 2 of Rack Time Rob's in-depth discussion of G.I. Joe Real American Hero 10 through 19. Part 2 because I can't look at a clock and we kept on talking, so we decided to split it into 2 halfway through. So if this is the first time you're hearing of it, go back and listen to last week's episode. You're going to love it. Rack Time's great. What's on Joe Mind, his podcast that he does with Mike and Mark and Joe Colton is a fabulous, fabulous podcast. You guys need to go over there and listen to it. But also, if you want to participate yourself and be a guest on Joe, please reach out to me on social media. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. Or you can send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com, and we'll figure out what topic you want to cover. The more specific, the better. But the idea is it's your specific favorite thing about G.I. Joe. Whatever it is that you absolutely adore about G.I. Joe, we'll figure it out, and we'll have some good fun with it. Now, while you're online, please give me a rate and review on your podcast app. It takes you just a second, and every review helps grow the show. If you're so inclined, you can also visit our Patreon page and help support the show that way, patreon.com/JoeOnJoePod. And speaking of support, I spoke about it last week. Austin Huff, who had been a guest on this show a few weeks back, talking about Super Joe and Mego toys, he has taken his Super Joe comic book project and turned it into a Kickstarter. So we need you to help us get that book backed. It's going to have contributors such as Bob Hall, Netho Diaz, and last week we announced that Larry Hama himself is participating in the project. If your first time you're hearing about this, you don't know who Super Joe is. Super Joe was the line of G.I. Joes that came out, I believe it was 77 and 78, between the old school adventure team and the 3 3/4 G.I. Joes. It's not a lot of people know about it. I certainly knew nothing about it, so Austin educated me. We had a great Mego talk a few weeks back, and now he's got the Super Joe project in the works, and it looks really great, and now Larry Hama is on board as well. So he's doing a variant cover with the amazing comic book artist Jeff Isherwood. So head to Kickstarter, search on Super Joe Unlimited, and let's get them some support. This campaign ends on July 11th. They're a little over halfway there as I'm recording this, so please get there. I think it's a very reachable goal, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The book looks really great, and I've read Austin's other comic book, The Masters, and it was really good. I really liked it. So if he brings that level of talent to this book, I can't wait to read it. Speaking of levels of talent that are just through the roof, we're talking about Movies in a Meal podcast. Our great sponsors, give them a listen. In the beginning of time, the smallest organism gained sentience and thought to itself, I really need a good meal. Then, a bunch of other stuff happened, and finally the Lumiere brothers started showing movies in France. This was all the inspiration that fellow broadcasters Brad, Keith, and Ben needed to combine these two primal needs into the Movies in a Meal podcast. The Movies in a Meal is one of the most casual and relaxing film talk podcasts you could ever listen to. These 3 friends enjoy a good meal together while talking all about the movies. And not just reviews. They do favorite lists, comparison discussions, genre talks, anything and everything that you can think of. They've even broken their solemn promise inherent in the name and branched out into TV talk. So I love the variety of films they bring to the table. They cover new releases, classics, cult films, often in one episode. It's really a delight to listen to, and it has something for every movie fan out there to enjoy. So if you're looking to grow your podcast library, if you eat meals, and if you've ever seen a movie, then you should give Ben, Keith, and Brad a listen and subscribe to the Movies in a Meal podcast. They've been a great sponsor to this show. I love the Movies in a Meal podcast, and I'd like all of you to love them too. All right, so we are back this week with part 2 of our in-depth discussion of A Real American Hero 10 through 19 with What's on Joe Mind's Rack Time Rob Irizarry. The second half of this interview, it is absolutely just as much fun as the first. So if you didn't listen to last week's ep, once again, go back, catch up. Since we didn't plan on doing 2 episodes, we did just kind of ramble on. So if there's any references to earlier moments of the podcast that you kind of don't get, I apologize. Again, go and listen to last week's episode. It'll all make a lot more sense. So let's sit back with Racktime Rob of the What's on Joe Mind podcast. Now that drops every Tuesdays, as if you all don't already subscribe to them. And let's listen to Racktime and myself opine about a fabulous run of G.I. Joe comic books. So we move on to G.I. Joe 15. So now we've got the Red Eye to Miami. So then this is where like that B plot moves up to the A plot, because now that they've escaped the bunker, now they got to get out of the South America. And that's what this adventure is.
Yeah, and for something, where basically Snake Eyes is the only real Joe, because I mean we only see the Joes like in the briefing room.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about, debriefing, over what, the big shoot up at the furniture factory. Basically it's an all Snake Eyes issue based,
Totally.
So I was down with it.
And I mean, this also
and
is
Dr. Venom being such a weasel. There's a wonderful sequence in this with Snake Eyes, with Venom trying to kick Snake Eyes out of the plane. The bomb bay opens. He catches himself. Quinn jumps down to save him. And then I think this is where you get that fine. I mean, obviously it's not very subtle when Venom's going to kill Quinn then hanging from the edge of the plane, and Quinn saved his life earlier. And now he's like, you've got no honor. And it ends with him about to throw Quinn out, or Venom with Quinn about to throw Venom out of the plane. So it's not very subtle, but it's the turn though. That is the turn, because Quinn's operating in a sense of honor. Yeah. And now it's been turned on him. I mean, he got hired by Cobra to do this job, and he was doing the job. Right. And now he's like, well, I'm going to get everyone out because we have to work together to get out. And he's realizing Dr. Venom is in no interest, Yeah. So Dr. Venom really, it's better off like throwing isn't worth my honor. Yeah. It's not worth the energy and output. So it's solid. And Snake Eyes. This time Snake Eyes stops him. Yeah. We need him to land the plane. Yes. Yes. Yeah. We also get a nice, I don't know if nice is the right word to use, but we get, is this our first Sig Hail in the G.I. Joe comics where Major Blood Sig hails Cobra Commander? Yeah, it's something, isn't it? He even says all hail. Yeah. And he absolutely drops a Sig Hail. Yeah. Hey, I didn't think that much of it, mainly because I'd probably been reading a whole bunch of Captain Americas with the red skull in them. But for sure, yeah. Listen, bad guys are going to be bad guys. Yeah, I mean he's a bad guy, right? So let them do bad guys things. I mean, even back in the '80s, the Nazi figures in Indiana Jones did not have the So well, you say that. It's funny you mention that. They don't have it. But I got the tote, the re-releases that Hasbro's been doing, which I think are wonderful. I'm a massive Jones fan. The tote, I never had tote as a kid. What I never knew is that he Sig Hails. Oh yeah, he does the arm movement that he does in the movie, which is a Sig Hail, but he does it to show off, his palm. Yeah. But to see that on an action figure, is shocking. Yeah, because they had the spring-loaded arm. Yeah, it's the spring-loaded arm. It was. I opened it up and I was like, "Awesome! Oh my god, yeah, Toad's great. Bad's a bad guy. Blah blah blah." And I peel the coat off. Oh, he's got a spring-loaded arm. And it goes whap. I've got the 6-inch one, and yeah, he's got the basically he's got the hand, but with the the burned the staff of Ra. Yeah. Oh man, headpiece. I do love those. I can't wait for that movie too. Anyway, we're running, we're getting there, we're chugging through. But this is our first introduction to Major Blood. Just a couple panels. He said, "I need you to kill Destro." Yeah, and I really dig that. That's like so Shakespearean, so arch. Yeah. So what do they call it? Court intrigue stuff, which is fabulous. So he's setting it up, and now and then you got the romance, Baroness kissing on Destro's metal face. It's wonderful. Also, in this drawing of Major Blood, all the dog tags, you don't even have to explain what that is. You just know those are soldiers that he's killed. Yeah. These are hits he's done. Yes. Yeah. So good. And we see that they land. Venom gets away because he's got great lawyers, and Snake Eyes and Quinn land up in, is it Miami jail?
Yeah, Miami Police Headquarters.
Dade County lockup.
Dade County lockup. Shared a cell right next to Trump. So
next to a Florida man.
So now we go to G.I. Joe 16, which has Destro and Hawk duking it out on the cover. Night Attack.
Oh, good issue.
Yeah, it really is. And it opens up with Joe's are in a training session where we meet Tripwire, we meet Cover Girl, we meet the Wolverine.
This is the first time we actually see the Dragonfly.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we've met Wild Bill before.
You're right.
But he was always flying like a troop carrier or a cargo helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get him in the Dragonfly.
Yeah. And we also get this time, for the first time, this is the first full, Shakespearean court of everyone in the same room together. Venom, Baroness, that's Scarface, Blood, Destro, Cobra Commander, all over dinner. Or at least, they're not really eating. They're having wine.
Yeah.
Although
and thought bubbles.
Yeah, there's a plate of snacks there.
Yeah.
But
they're in the back of a truck, don't you?
Right. You always wonder, why are they always so crappy to each other? And I get it because they all want to be a leader, but like, it can't be super easy to recruit someone to join the evil terrorist. You know what I mean? Like, at one point, don't you run out of like qualified candidates to help you run an evil terrorist organization? Don't you gotta kind of keep them a little closer to the vest than Cobra Commander does?
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got these people, they're all ambitious, so that's what makes them what they are,
So the Joes mobilize into Washington D.C. because they're aware of a threat. Yeah.
Basically, but the brass thinks that they're going to hit the Capitol.
Right, and they're really heading towards.
And they're heading for the Treasury.
Correct.
In actuality.
Right.
Because basically what they're going to do is they're going to blow the toxin all over the plates for the money and contaminate the money supply.
That makes sense. Torpedo is running around the Treasury
with his flippers,
which is amazing. It's an amazing decision.
And a one-shot spear gun.
That is an amazing choice to illustrate that. Was this her? Who's it? Mike Vosberg. God bless him. And who's great, by the way. Artwork and all this stuff, top tier. This is great Joe stuff. Lots of good, rich, real action, not superhero action.
Yeah.
Really nice detail. And then Mike Vosberg decides to draw flippers on Torpedo.
And I'm sure they were told the characters have to look like the figures.
Right. But that's taking it to an extreme.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing that really always impressed me about Mike Vosberg is when he drew the vehicles, they looked like the toys.
100%.
And a lot of the other artists, who would do a great job on the thing, couldn't hit the vehicle.
Yes. That's all. The vehicles is usually what suffers the most when you get a fill-in artist,
Yeah.
And we know it's because they're, it's usually fill-in artists usually are last minute. We need a guy to punch in, and they don't have time to get, so we understand why they wouldn't be, but those are usually the things that suffer the most.
Yeah. When Frank Springer gets on the book later, his vehicles are all over.
Yeah. Lots of hot tank action. And this is where the Baroness gets barrel blown up.
Yeah. Because she realizes that, the turret of her tank where Major Blood is sitting is aiming for Destro and not the Wolverine. And she realizes, oh God, he's killing Destro.
As per Cobra Commander's orders.
Yes. And Blood leaves her to die.
Absolutely leaves her to die. And she's trapped in the tank, and there's a giant explosion.
Yeah.
So she could be dead. Do we learn this issue that she survived?
We learn the next issue.
Got it.
That she survived.
And Hawk gets shot in the back.
By Cobra Commander, because he's a snake.
Commander. Hawk and Destro duking it out, which this rivalry, like this, the way they set this up, gives you a lot of character about Destro, and that he's willing to face his foes face to face, and go toe to toe with them. Whereas Cobra Commander sneaks up and shoots. Also, Cobra Commander has to choose: do I kill Destro or Hawk?
Yeah.
Again,
who's the bigger threat?
Yeah. Right? Again, really, come on, Cobra Commander, you're shooting yourself in the foot here.
Yeah, but again,
you got to shoot Hawk.
Yeah, because if I shoot Destro, I get rid of Destro.
but I'd probably get turned over to federal prison.
Correct. Yeah. It's
Destro will not turn me over to federal prison, and I can play this,
Right. And so it ends with Hawkshot, which is wild. And that's something that that I feel like that moment is the moment that you ever see, like, I don't know if you ever noticed it, but a lot of times when they do adaptations of comics of things that we know intricately, they'll take certain moments and they'll amplify them. And for part of it makes me think that the people writing it only read 4 issues and happen to have that information in it, which I know is sometimes the case. But Hawk getting shot is something that we've seen repeatedly. He eventually gets in a wheelchair from it. In the movie, he got shot. Like Hawk getting shot, I feel is a trope for that character when they're writing that character in other medium and other adventures.
Well, I think at around the time that this issue hit, you're starting to see in Joe packages offer sheets for Duke.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And it's just like, oh, does this guy replace Hawk?
Yeah. No,
so I mean, sense. I was kind of like, I got to get the next one because, oh my gosh.
And that's a good way to write them out. Also, with what happens in 19, this is a good way to elevate him as well.
Yeah.
So we go to the next issue. It's Loose Ends. Oh, and then that one ends with Scarface going on the run. Now, Scarface is infected, right?
Scarface, basically, he's not infected yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Because the change of plan is basically, they know that Scarface has a lot of intimate knowledge. The Joes are after him because he has a lot of intimate knowledge of Cobra operations.
Right.
So he's a valuable prisoner. And I think Cobra realizes it and ejects him so that basically they can use what would be natural quarantine procedures to locate Joe headquarters.
Right. So we pick up on 17, which is on a whole is a really great chase on the highway with Major Blood.
It's Grand Slam shining moment.
Yeah, it really is. You've got Major Blood who hijacks a bus on the cover, and he's So it picks up pretty much right away with Loose Ends. Hawk's still laying in the street shot. Clutch and Scarlet are over him. Doc shows up finally.
But they're telling you right on the first day, he's still alive.
Yeah, Duke's gonna be okay. That's what Doc's greatest moments are letting us know who's not going to die. We do get to see Gung Ho destroy some yuppies.
A Shelby Cobra.
Yeah, is that what it is? A Shelby Cobra?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Because that's why he destroys the car. He heard it was a Cobra.
Oh, that's right, GT Cobra.
Because he gets out. He's hey, this is an awful nice car, buddy. Cobras. What kind is it?
You're right. So Hawk's transported away. We get Destro upset about the Baroness being in the wreckage.
Yeah, he thinks the Baroness is dead.
Yeah, and we don't see her yet though. Ace flying overhead.
No, yeah, we don't see her.
Yeah. We learned that Snake Eyes keeps a fat roll in his suit.
Yeah, he's got $100 bill, and Quinn has the more useful saw blade.
Yeah, Quinn's got a saw in his boot. These two are a match made in heaven. Like they're great together. He's got a saw in his boot to bust out of the Miami jail. What's funny about Snake Eyes with the money in his and I guess if it's sewn into the liner, it's safer. So he has to tear the lining open to get to the $100 bill. But like he's got a pocket right there. Like
but people check those,
right? But throw him off the
I'm sure he got rummaged through in Miami.
That is true. That is. No, yeah, you're right though. No, you're absolutely right. Yes. They 100% would have frisked him and emptied his pockets. You're so totally right.
Yeah.
I'm a dumb. See, you've been to jail. I haven't.
I haven't. I just love how the fact that basically you got this flexible saw blade that Quinn has.
Yeah.
Obviously, they haven't checked on these guys.
Oh, no.
in a day and a half.
No.
Because that's probably about how long it would take to saw through the bar.
No one's checking on these guys. They're expecting to come in and see him hanging like Epstein, Like there's no one's paying attention to these dudes.
Until they get out, run across a local crap game.
Yeah. So Stalker and Grand Slam, in their finest moment, they start this chase.
Yeah.
against Major Blood. Quinn uses the money to well, it's actually they got to gamble. They're playing craps.
Yeah, basically it's their stake to get into the game.
They use that. They play, which is funny because, like, you know, they're in Miami. They're in the United States. Snake Eyes, I'm sure he's got some phone calls he can make. And then, you know.
But nobody had change of our 100.
No. Oh, wait. No, he can't. He can't speak. He can't make a phone.
Because he can't speak on the phone.
And remember, this is an era where they so far, if to my recollection,
there's no TTS.
Outside of like some random motions, like there was no one knew sign language. They were just they were just looking to go, he's so mysterious. We don't know what Snake Eyes is thinking. I'm like, really? You can't use American Sign Language at this point? Like no one's.
Well, he did in issue 1.
But then they never use it though.
Yeah, they never use it.
That's
again.
what I'm saying. Yeah. Like he does, but then it's the rest of the series is he's so mysterious. No one knows what he's thinking. He could be sitting there literally going like, I want a sandwich. I want lunch. Can we eat?
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, so
or like, hey Quinn, dial this number.
Yeah, exactly. Like, write something down, and they never do that.
But it's a better story this way.
You're completely right. You're completely right. Not a complaint. So Grand Slam does have his finest moment when he Grand Slams through the front windshield of this bus. And
I know.
Decks Major Blood. Absolutely clobbers him. Venom, and it's the same bus that Scarface
is on.
Yep. We do see the Sky Striker in action this issue too, and we also see the absolute need for a well-designed Cobra plane.
Yes,
because this plane ain't it.
No, these little.
Yeah, these are not
these little interceptors. Yeah, to be quite honest, I mean, the fact that he's dogfighting when the Sky Striker probably has armament that can pick them off before they can even see him.
Right. Yeah, it's so crazy. They're just, and anytime you see something that's not gone through the Hasbro, design, schedule, it always just looks so out of place. And that's got to be just because of continuity of design, number of people chiming in on things, level of detail that the artist would put into something to replicate a toy versus just draw a plane. But anytime you see a non-toy vehicle versus a toy vehicle, you're always like, oh yeah, I can see the difference.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, basically it looks like something Shield is flying around as opposed to.
Yeah. The doctor in this issue, when Hawk wakes up in the hospital, because they bring Major Blood to the hospital and Hawk's like pulls his gun on him, that doctor does not look like Jerry Seinfeld. And I mean this. Listeners, if you have this issue, it's like the second to last page. The doctor with the broken eyeglasses absolutely looks like a Jerry Seinfeld rendering, which is pretty entertaining. So now we move to 18. So we got 2 more left. Destro returns, and we got hot action with the Manta.
Everybody's going to Coney Island.
Coney Island action. Everyone's going to Coney Island. Snake Eyes and Quinn are in a pimped out pink Corvette, or not it was a Chevy.
I think it's an old Chevy. Yeah,
old Chevy.
Or maybe a pink Cadillac. Who knows?
Or probably a pink Cadillac. Yeah, I don't know anything about cars. We got the Manta in play, so kids, get your flag points together and order your Manta today. I did too. You've got Destro shooting rockets at a roller coaster. Like, I hate you, roller coaster.
The Cyclone.
Yeah, I hate you, roller coaster. I hate you so much.
And it's all wood, so I mean that thing's just.
It's got to come on fire. The Joes show up. Lots of action. Quinn and Snake Eyes meet up with Scarface. Quinn gives Scarface the key. It is a pink Cadillac. He says there's a pink Cadillac out front. You're absolutely right. It's just this is a big action chase issue. It's great.
Yeah, it's 2 chases. I mean, yeah. So we've got the chase for Scarface, and then basically the chase in the desert later.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically the Joes just drive into this Cobra convoy, and no one can tell it's them because of all the dust they're kicking up.
Yeah, and then now we got Destro with Scarface. They finally catch up with Dr. Venom. This is where he gets inoculated with the disease. Yep. And then on the very next page, he's already sweating bullets, presumably from the inoculation.
or the fact that he's just like, oh God, I'm being sold out here.
Yes, he totally is.
Yeah,
fight in the desert. It's like that. It's like that action scene in one of those Mission Impossible movies where there was the windstorm and Tom Cruise can't find anyone.
Yeah,
you get the winch used on the toy, which is great.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's a nice toyetic use of that to show you, this works.
And which is good because that hook didn't actually hook up anywhere to the vamp. So
yeah, and the Joes take custody of Scarface, which is leading into that quarantine procedure that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So now this is great. We see the construction of the toy happening.
Yeah.
Underground, which is awesome, and now we see that the Baroness is alive, dressed up like a mummy. She's going to be staying at the G.I. Joe headquarters as prisoner, which is also another kind of trope that we've seen show up again and again.
Yeah.
Where she gets captured and then held in the Joe base. Happened in the movie, happens again in the toys, or in the comics, happens during the the IDW years when she gives birth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Baroness being
held. Was that the Devil Do?
I'm
Devil's
sorry.
Do.
I'm sorry. I meant
when she gave birth.
Yeah, I meant to say Devil's Do. Yeah, when she gives
birth.
But
I think she's held in the pit at some point during the IDW run, too.
Yeah. It's a trope.
Yeah.
The Joes illegally detaining someone. It happens to be Baroness.
I mean, that's Cobra's number 2. I mean, yeah, that's high level.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. But you'd think they'd want to follow the rules a little bit. Just a little bit. So now we also are reintroduced to Flag. General Flag or Admiral Flag at this point? He's General.
It's General Flag.
Yeah. So we're introduced to General Flag, which we haven't really seen much since issue 1. Really, he showed up a few other times.
He's got a big part in issue 5.
Right.
We see him in issue 12. I know I think we see him in issue 14.
But we get a few good pages out of him here to reestablish his importance for what happens at the end.
We saw him a lot in 60.
Yeah. Do we know? Did they purposely name so Flag was never a toy? Did they name the USS Flag after the like in the real world? Did they make the choice to call it the Flag based on the comic book character that Larry wrote?
I think so, because it's spelled with 2 G's.
Right. They must have. Yeah. That's great. That's such a cool, did you know thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he does it. It's not like the USS, Abramowitz, where you'd hear it and you go, oh, well, that's absolutely named after a dude. It's the USS Flag, and you can go, oh, okay, I get it. But yeah, that is such a smart, cool moment of them understanding their IP and saying, let's make a cool reference to something that the Joe fans would love, and if you don't love it, you don't need to know it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guys who were running the Joe brand at the time paid attention.
Yeah, of course.
If you look at the second Snake Eyes figure file card, all right, there's all those details from issues, the Snake Eyes origin issues in there.
Yeah, Larry was still writing those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would make.
They know what's going on. They're letting them do.
Yeah. So they've let's see here. So they've captured Major Blood. They tie him to a radiator. Snake Eyes and Quinn are dropping in on Venom. They found him. Quinn's getting his revenge. There's a bunch of helicopters flying overhead.
They put on snake armor.
Yeah, is this our first snake armor appearance?
Yes, first and only.
Yeah. I like that they first use it. Snake Eyes is hiding in it, right?
They put it on because basically there's a whole bunch of Cobra helicopters dropping down. We need something to fight these guys off.
And their Cobra's controlling the snake armor at that point, then, right? Yeah. They take Snake Eyes is in it. There's basically brainwave scanners in there. It basically lets them control who's ever in it. That's why he turns against Quinn.
And they mentioned that in the toy.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they mentioned that basically that that it has basically there's electronic components in the armor that will, number one, make Cobras more Cobra-y, and if you put a Joe in there, it will make him work for Cobra.
Oh, that's cool.
It's actually like I think on the back of the box.
Oh, that's great. I never knew
Yeah.
that. I knew it was designed to be like controlled remotely, but not that it would actually make you more Cobra-y. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We see the building of the base is starting to come together, and this is what a just the use of the base here is such a tremendous incorporation of the toy into the comic book in a quasi real way. Like, we're gonna use the design and we're gonna show how quickly we can put it together, just like you can, kid. And it's gonna work to the plot's advantage too.
They should have showed a bunch of frustrated Joes trying to get the stickers on straight.
Hey guys, I got 18 no step stickers. Where do I put them? So they build this fake base, which is our toy G.I. Joe base, and they push it up with the
vehicle lifts.
Yeah, the vehicle lifts
from the motor pool.
Yeah, and the motor pool, and as the Vamp drives into the normal garage building, and a bunch of missiles blow up the garage, what's left standing is the G.I. Joe base that is our toy, and it looks fabulous. And so Cobra thinks, oh, that's the G.I. Joe base.
That's Joe. Yeah, because the plan, because Scarface spills the plan, and and Hawk figures out, oh, well, if we put a quarantine for this, Cobra will know where we are. Well, why don't we just let them know where we are? Let them think they win, and then we preserve the the secret of our base, because the real pit are these
is the
5 or 6
levels
sub-levels down below
right.
the motor pool.
Yes, exactly. Which is so smart. We also get some pack rats being used here, which is a fun, because that was the counter component to the Snake. If Cobra has their remote control robots, we've got our remote control robots.
The amazing thing, though, is basically that an entire military force lands on Staten Island, and somehow the rest of the base, the rest of Fort Wadsworth, and the surrounding neighborhoods disappear.
No one cares. I think because it's just a bunch of Chaplin's assistants. They're just like, we don't want to get involved. What were the two dudes' names that they use?
Oh,
Toby.
I know who you're talking. It's like Percy and
Percy and Toby or something. And they're like, we don't.
Percy and Cecil, I think.
My name's Cecil. That's between y'all. Well, that's always the wild thing about any time they have Cobra attack, that whether it's in New York, which is more blatant, or in Utah, you're saying that an entire contingent of villainous enemy military vehicles are flying over the United States and attacking, and the rest of the country isn't like, what is this? It's Red Dawn every time Cobra does that.
They established that Cobra's pretty good about sneaking around, seeing that military equipment around.
But at a certain point, the attack happens. Yeah, they're great with sneaking it around. You're right. They're great with sneaking it around.
Right outside Fort Wadsworth is a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah,
and, no one is.
Which we see later come in a really good play with the Fred stuff when they're watching all the trucks going in and out. So you're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not there right now. Magically disappears,
and
Battle World. The Beyonder comes in,
and we get to the resolution with Quinn and Dr. Venom. Quinn picks up one of the pack rats, uses it to shoot the tank, the hiss that Venom's in, and completely goes hog wild after him, pulling out a grenade
that he's going to make him eat.
Yep. Major blood. He escapes by knocking Doc out of the infirmary, the prison, and then he rescues Baroness from the infirmary / prison
and shoots General Flag.
Yep, there he goes. Thanks, Scarface. You've redeemed yourself after all, because Scarface calls him General Flag, and Scarface kicks the gun out of General Flag's hand. Meanwhile, Scarface is still handcuffed to the jail cell.
Yeah.
So Flag is shot, Scarface is trapped, and there's a bomb that's about to go off. And Quinn is up top with Venom going with a live grenade in his hand.
Yeah.
Quinn decides,
going on about the bear and the weasel spirit, and so He's full gun.
Yes. He's absolutely off the reservation. So Quinn decides he's going to let go of his vengeance because it's beneath him, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. And then Venom says, don't you turn your back on me.
Yeah. Basically, if I kill you, I'm just as bad as you.
Right. Pulls his gun, shoots Quinn in the back, and as Quinn falls, the grenade drops out of his hand.
Right to Dr. Venom's feet.
Yep. So they go bye-bye. The fake pit goes bye-bye. General Flag is dead. Cobra thinks they've destroyed the G.I. Joe headquarters. So they retreat into New Jersey because there's a Giants game they got to catch.
Yeah, probably. Although, I found basically kind of like the mob, they're probably more Jets fans.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And then we get a very somber ending here. We see our losses. We see that, while Hawk's calling it a major victory, we see that Quinn is dead and General Flag is dead. And do any of them know who Quinn is?
Yes. Stalker and Breaker and Gung Ho are going to know, and Scarlet as well.
I guess, yeah, they would. But you see where I'm going with this. Snake Eyes holds out Quinn's medallion, like Hawk wouldn't look at that and go, "What?
I'm sure he'd been
collecting
briefed.
ears. What is going on there?" Like,
I'm sure he'd been briefed on that. And I mean, and if he's a known mercenary, I'm sure they have.
That is true. I know. I'm joking. Yeah. And it's a powerful ending. It's great. You're right. These 10 issues are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, basically, I'm G.I. Joe reader for life after this.
Yeah, it's really such strong stuff. It sets up so many things that come into play later. I would love to see less emphasis on the brainwave scanner going forward. I'm a little
brainwave scanned out.
I'm a little brainwave scanned out for my current modern Joe comics, we'll say. But
they did some interesting stuff with that because I mean, who sees a return of Dr. Venom?
Oh yeah,
and let's say it brought back Snake Eyes.
That's true. No, that is true. But I would love to see it retired.
Yeah, I think it's done its job now. We can put it away for a little bit.
Yeah. But 100% fabulous. All the new Joes, everyone getting their spotlight moments. You get to know a lot of dudes. You get actual death, actual pathos.
And the collection's not so big at that point where you can't, introduce them and give them a little spotlight.
Correct. Yeah.
Where it becomes unwieldy later.
Right. Later, it's like you get one dude for one issue. They introduce 3 dudes. One dude gets character moments, and then none of them are ever mentioned again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's
really solid stuff, Rob. Rob, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like we just jumped right into the G.I. Joe stuff without really spending a lot of time with you. So why is this your favorite run of this? I mean, like you said, it hooked you into the Joes. What were you doing at the time that when you first encountered this stuff? Like, what was the stuff that you were into? This jumped to the fore. Like, were you reading other comics at the time?
I was definitely reading other comics. I mean, I'd been reading comics since I was like 3 years old, and I'd gotten a bunch of them to keep me busy on a trip to Maryland. I loved watching, the Batman TV show and Super Friends on TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my parents knew that I liked that stuff, so that's probably why they got me the comics. So, I mean, I would, love to read Batman, love to read Justice League of America, Spider-Man and Captain America. Could always, read those. And then the Joes, I mean, when Mike and I've told the story before, when Mike and I first saw like the commercials for the first toys, it's kind of like, oh, they're bringing those back. Because you kind of vaguely remembered the big ones. We had Bullet Man.
Did you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Had Bullet Man because it was like another superhero. So we were doing all the Migos and stuff. And it's like, but it was kind of like, eh. And then I saw them.
Yeah.
And the artwork on the package was kind of like, look at that. That looks so much better than the commercial. And then in a J.C. Penney and Rockville Center, and I look and say, who's this guy all in black?
Yeah.
And then I turn over the back. It's, there's something that's going to tell me who this guy in black is.
Uh-huh. So was Snake Eyes your first?
Snake Eyes was my first one, and then at the end of the day, when we went through the mall with my grandmother, I went back and got Flash. It's like, wow, that guy comes with a laser rifle. That's cool.
Yeah. Then how? So you were pretty much hooked right away.
We knew that. And I knew the comic was out there.
When the show premiered, were you anticipating it, or did you kind of catch it after? Did you see it after it had?
No, I think I remember seeing the commercials for it on Chapter 11 and wanted to make sure that I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was happening about the time that this stuff was. So it's like, we got to see how this goes.
Mm-hmm. And
who's Duke? Yeah.
So you mentioned that you didn't get these issues and you got these issues in arrears. Do you remember what your first issue of the comic book was, or roughly what era?
I was getting, there wasn't a comic book store super close to me. But on Sundays after church, when Dad would stop get the Sunday paper, sometimes I'd pick up a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So after I bought the figures, I got issue 5.
Okay.
Of the comic book, and then I got number 6, missed 7, got 8, and got 11 and 12 and 13. Then I got 15. So it's like I was, doing the best I could to follow the story.
But you were pretty much in there from the start, though. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really awesome. And did you? I'm sure you eventually put together a complete run.
I put a complete run together with the trades.
Oh, okay.
I have all the trades between the first 5 that Marvel did, and then I picked up on the IDW ones.
And did you then keep reading it all the way to 155 and beyond, or was there a period where you dropped it and it had to go back?
A lot of the stuff after issue probably 90, I read for the first time in those trades.
Yeah.
Because just looking at the figures and stuff like that, on the shelf, you're just like, and I wasn't collecting the figures anymore at that point.
And did it confirm your choice?
Yeah, and I was kind of like, and it was becoming, it really was becoming just too big and unwieldy for,
Yeah, well, yeah, it became not only the Snake Eyes show, but also the Cobra side of it lost a lot of its flavor, again, because the lines were just so Vipers. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they were so Viper-centric, you weren't getting a lot of great character, like we saw in this issue of the leadership for him to bounce off of. It just
it's like they had that year with Crystal Ball and a Raptor, and it's like it kind of scared them away from doing anything other than troops for a long time.
And you're not going to have Crystal Ball and Raptor running Cobra with alongside Cobra Commander, right? So they elevate Zorana and Mindbender, but then there's no one else. And
because Destro goes off on his own.
Right. And so there's no romantic intrigue there because, Mindbender's, no one wants to see him in a romance. And Zorana, and Zorana's out for her own thing. So you lose a lot of that high drama that you got in these early issues. And then there just wasn't a comparable new character, new character, face character. There wasn't they did Cesspool, but then you go, but he's just a weirdo.
Yeah, I like Destro's kind of going straight. Zartan's kind of going straight, and it's well, geez, my 2 favorite villains aren't really villains anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so. Yeah, I think those are the things that plagued the Cobra side of the equation. So
yeah,
and then
they got all the
side.
they got most of the character development.
Yeah, if it wasn't ninjas, it was issue or 2 dedicated to just getting the new toy out there and then back to ninjas,
Yeah.
So
look, Eco Warriors.
It's hard to maintain momentum there for sure. Well,
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, again, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, listeners, if you don't know what's on Joe Mind, Rob and his brother Mike, and very often the honcho
and,
Mark Webber,
and Joe Colton and Mark Webber.
Joe Colton, who just had a little baby, beautiful baby.
Yeah.
Congratulations there. They run what's on Joe is the longest running Joe podcast, right?
Longest running Joe centric podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a generational one, right? So other people started it and passed the mic.
Yes. Yeah.
That's I just love
the
that
most recent edition.
I love that idea. I really do. Yeah. I love that idea that it starts as one thing, morphs into another. but it's such a great place for Joe fans to come together. Now, I believe you guys go live every Tuesdays. Is that correct?
We are every Tuesday at 9:05.
9:05 Eastern?
Eastern. Yes.
Eastern. Yes, 9:05 Eastern. So listeners, check them out. I believe it's WOJM is your handle on social?
I think so.
WOJMP. I'll have set it up top, listeners. So you heard it before. Yeah. You heard it before you even got to this part of the show.
But you can find us. You can find us on YouTube, like I said, live.
Yes. Yeah, you guys do a live video podcast, so which is something I have not decided to subject my listeners to.
And then you can catch the replays on, of course, on YouTube later. And basically, we also post the audio on wherever you can find a podcast, like Stitcher and Podbean.
Yeah,
like
it's a wonderful show. You do a lot of, you deal with a lot of breaking news, and which is great because you've got a lot of really solid insight. You guys know a ton of people as far as getting info, and
we had a busy week last week.
You had a busy week last week. You have great listener participation, in the chats and stuff. So it is always fun when you guys have me on the show. I really always appreciate it.
We love having you.
Yeah, it's absolute blast, and I appreciate all of you so much. And listeners, you need to check them out if you haven't already. I'm sure you already do. So, Rob, rack time, Rob. Thank you so much.
Maybe I get comics to talk about soon.
Yeah, rack time. Thanks so much for being a guest on Joe and Joe this week.
All right. Again, thanks for having me.
Well, now you know. Now you know more about what's on Joe's mind, and Joeing is half the battle.